The Xbox One X is the ultimate video game console. It sports more horsepower than any system ever, and unlike Sony's PlayStation 4 Pro, it can play plenty of titles in full 4K. It's just about everything you could want without investing in a gaming PC. The only problem? It's now a year after the PS4 Pro launched, and the One X costs $500, while Sony's console launched at $400. That high price limits the Xbox One X to die-hard Microsoft fans, who don't mind paying a bit more to play the console's exclusive titles in 4K. Despite all the power inside, the One X is Microsoft's smallest console to date. It looks similar to the Xbox One S, except it has an entirely matte black case and it's slightly slimmer. Along the front, there's a slot-loading 4K Blu-ray drive, a physical power button, and a single USB port along with a controller pairing button. And around the back there are HDMI out and in ports, the latter of which lets you plug in your cable box. Additionally, there are two USB ports, connections for optical audio, IR out, and gigabit Ethernet. If you still got a Kinect kicking around, you'll need to use a USB adapter to plug it in. The Xbox One X's real upgrades are under the hood. It features an 8-core CPU running at 2.3 GHz, 12GB of GDDR5 RAM, and an upgraded AMD Polaris GPU with 6 teraflops of computing power. The PS4 Pro only has 8GB of RAM and it tops out at 4.2 teraflops. Microsoft's console is clearly faster. That additional horsepower means the Xbox One X can run more games in full, native 4K than the PS4 Pro. You won't find any major differences between the One X and the last Xbox at first, aside from a more dramatic startup sequence. Navigating around the Xbox interface is fast and zippy, but mostly that's due to Microsoft's recent OS upgrade. If you're upgrading from an older Xbox One, you can use the backup tool to transfer your games and settings to an external hard drive. Just plug that into the new console during setup, and it'll make it feel just like your old machine. It'll also be a lot faster than waiting for everything to download from Xbox Live. You'll still have to set aside some time if you want to play an Xbox One X enhanced title though. Those 4K textures will make games significantly larger, though Microsoft says it's come up with a few ways to help developers make downloading them more efficient. For example, language packs and other optional content won't get installed by default. We only had a few enhanced titles to test out during our review: Gears of War 4, Killer Instinct, and Super Lucky's Tale. They each took advantage of the console in different ways. Gears of War 4 runs natively in 4K at 30 frames per second, with Dolby Atmos and HDR support. It looked great, especially with HDR, which highlighted bright elements like lightning strikes, but I noticed the frame rate dip occasionally. You can also play the game in performance mode, which bumps the frame rate up to 60 FPS and uses higher quality graphical effects, while rendering it lower in 1080p. Personally, I preferred this mode since it makes the game much smoother, as if you're playing it on a high-end gaming PC and not a console. Killer Instinct and Super Lucky's Tale, meanwhile, ran in 4K at 60 FPS. They both looked and played better than their standard versions, though I was surprised they didn't take advantage of HDR. Microsoft says over 130 Xbox One X enhanced titles are in the works. That includes already released games like Forza Motorsport 7 and Assassin's Creed Origins, as well as upcoming titles like Call of Duty World War II. You'll be able to find them easily in a special section in the Xbox Store. There are also a handful of Xbox 360 games that will be supported, including Halo 3 and Fallout 3. Some titles will get bumped up to higher resolution, while others will get HDR support. And even if a game isn't specifically tuned for the new console, Microsoft says you might still see some performance improvements. The PlayStation 4 Pro, meanwhile, has over 100 games tuned for its hardware, and its boost mode can also speed up some older games. Microsoft is still pushing the Xbox One X as something that can be more than just a game console. 4K Blu-rays loaded up quickly, and I didn't notice many delays as I skipped around films. Planet Earth 2, in particular, looked fantastic thanks to its brilliant use of HDR. Unfortunately, the Xbox One X doesn't support Dolby Vision, so you're stuck with HDR10. That makes sense since it's a more widely supported standard, but it would have been nice to see Dolby's too. One thing you won't find in the new Xbox is VR support. Microsoft has mentioned before that the console will offer some sort of mixed reality, but it hasn't offered up any details yet. It's technically powerful enough to work with any of the Windows mixed reality headsets launching this fall on PCs. The biggest knock against the Xbox One X is its $500 price. The PS4 Pro launched at $400 last year, and there's a good chance we'll see plenty of deals around the holidays. If your friends are on Xbox Live or you're a devotee of Microsoft's first-party franchises, then the X makes more sense. If you just want to play third-party titles that come to both platforms though, the PS4 Pro is clearly the better deal. There's also plenty of wisdom simply waiting for a while before you buy the One X, especially if you already have a One S or you haven't upgraded to a 4K TV yet. While the new console can make games look better on 1080p sets, since it'll super sample high-res textures and have more graphical effects, it's simply not worth the upgrade yet since those TVs can't view HDR. If price isn't a huge concern for you, it's worth considering investing in a gaming PC. A decent one costs between $600 and $800, plus the price of a monitor, but it'll easily be more powerful than the One X, and you have the added benefit of upgrading components down the line. Now that Microsoft and game publishers are offering most major titles on PC, you also won't be missing out on much by ditching consoles. Ultimately, the Xbox One X is, well, an Xbox. It offers some performance upgrades that gamers will notice, but it's also slightly disappointing. It's arriving a year after the PS4 Pro, but it doesn't do much more than Sony's console. It's simply a faster Xbox. For some gamers, that'll be enough, but it's a harder sell for most consumers.